Let's talk about ways we can handle employees who are resistant to change. So, Kristen, before I get started on my piece, I want to hear from you. Can you tell me about the change you are experiencing or getting ready to experience? Oh, software implementation. That's always a big one. And how soon will this implementation take place? Oh, just a few months. Well, you've come to the right place because it is my job today to help you through this process and show you some tools and ways that you can help your employees get over their resistance. But before we get into anything else, I'm going to have you take a step back and really look at your people. So, we're going to do a quick exercise. And what I want you to do is list your employees. And then I want you to rate them. So rate each employee on a scale of 1 to 10 on your perception of their acceptance of the upcoming change. 10 being the highest acceptance and 1 being the lowest. And then once you have scored them, I want you to look at everybody with a score of 7 or less and list 3 reasons to explain your perception. Any questions before we get started? Okay, then I'm going to let you dive right in and we'll resume in about 10 minutes. Okay, how was that, Kristen? Was it difficult? It can always be a little tough when you have to put pen to paper and explain your perception of what's going on. But what we're going to do now is we're going to try to get away from your perception and really look at the reality and the reason for that resistance to that change. And what we're going to do is look at one of Franklin Covey's 7 habits of highly effective people, which is seek first to understand, then to be understood. And one of the key components of this is empathic listening versus what we call autobiographical listening. Autobiographical listening, we do naturally, and we do it all the time. You're in a conversation with somebody, and as they're telling you things, you begin to put them in your framework. You begin to think about your experiences, your ideas, your opinions, and you frame their responses to hit your ideas. But in empathic listening, you really focus on that individual. You take you out of it and you let them talk and you really truly listen to what they're saying. Remember that seek to understand. And you try to get a hold of what that true resistance is rather than just saying, oh, they're resistant to change, so this is going to be difficult. And once you have done that, once you can understand your people, then you can go into looking at some of the tools we have out there to help with this change process. And one of the first ones is to lead by example. Remember, you're the leader. So, as the leader, your employees are looking to you to get their cues as to what they should think about this change. Is this software a good idea or a bad idea? Is it going to be difficult? Are you invested and are you really tuned in to have this be successful? So that is one of the keys because you're the leader and people want to know what you think. The next is to cultivate trust. Build trust with your employees. Always be honest and authentic in every bit of your communication and your actions throughout the transition. And then remove barriers. Barriers are going to occur anytime you have change, but with software implementation, there can be several of them. It could be a glitch in the program. It could be something IT didn't implement correctly. It could be something that was so easy in the old program that is now difficult and your employees are struggling with. So really get their feedback and help them remove those barriers. Next, training. Just like you were in this training today to help you learn how to deal with their resistance to change, they are going to need training on this software. They're going to need support. They're going to need time to adapt to these new skills, technologies, and processes. And also make sure you address any emotional concerns. Remember, just a few minutes ago, we talked about seek first to understand and then to be understood. Well, during that, you might have learned that some of your employees might have emotions involved in this in their resistance. For instance, let's say you have a long-term employee and they're a great employee. They know their job and they are very used to everybody coming to them for all the questions. And now you put this new software in place, and they might fear that they won't get it, and that they won't be able to answer those questions, and that their peers might perceive them differently. So make sure you address any of those emotions that might be involved in this change. And then break down that change. Divide it into smaller pieces. Software implementation is huge and it can be overwhelming. So, Kristen, can you think of any ways that you might be able to divide this up and make it easier for your people to go through this? That is a great idea. Now, look, you are already on the steps to embracing this change and helping people deal with this resistance, because you're thinking about putting your employees first and how you can help them through this and make this process easier for them. So, finally, the next tool we have here is to provide reinforcement. Make sure you're celebrating these wins. Reinforce their learning, reinforce what they've accomplished. Maybe once you've thought about how to divide all this up at the end of each stage, you figure out a way to celebrate that. It might even be something as simple as a team lunch, but celebrate that and really tell people they've done well, reinforce that positivity in those changes. So, Kristen, before I close this out today, do you have any questions or concerns? Okay. Well, then it was a pleasure being with you this afternoon, and I thank you for joining me.